Hello, Andy here from FlixMySwitchLASER. If you're new here, you're very welcome. And if you're returning, many thanks for your support. So I've got my Longer t-shirt on, so it's an important video. In full disclosure, Longer have recently sent me the Longer B1 frame to have a look at. And I promise you, this is not going to be just a one video series like many other YouTubers. It's going to be a number of videos. So the first one's going to be an assembly video, and I do show you some tips and tricks to make your life easier, especially when fitting the belts and adjusting the eccentric nuts and finding out where one wire particularly goes. Anyway, that's all shown in the video. So what am I going to cover? Going to cover unboxing. I'm going to do that quick. Going to lay the parts out. Going to show you the hidden side frame, which is easy to miss in the box. Going to assemble the frame. Where does that wire go? It had me scratching my head for a little while. Going to show you an easy way to install the belts because one side is a lot more difficult than the other. Again, I'll show you that. Going to show you how to adjust the eccentric nuts and how to avoid flat spots. Going to check that the frame is square, and spoiler alert, it was perfectly square. Going to do a look forward, and that's looking forward to a new series on the B1 laser. And going to, not in this video, going to talk about some upgrade parts, things that I'm going to make just to make the laser a lot more usable. If you've got any ideas for a video, please drop them in the comments below and I will consider adding that to my playlist. After all, my videos are not just review videos, they're videos to help you overcome the most common problems I see across many of the Facebook forums. And I then make a video and direct people to that video because it's easier to make a video sometimes than type in a massive long paragraph trying to tell people how to overcome the problems. I am trying to build a community. So what a community is, it's a group of like-minded people helping one another. The way you can help me is by adding comments to the videos. That way I either know I'm doing something correct and it's helping, or I'm not helping, or you're answering a question and I can answer them. That community spirit really does make me happy. I just wish I could see more of that in the comment sections below. Anyway, let's get into the video. If you like what I'm doing here, please comment below and I promise I will answer every single comment. If you like what I'm doing, smash that like button, and if I've earned your respect, think about subscribing to my channel so you don't miss the next one. If you've got any ideas for videos, again, drop them in the comments and I will consider that for my video playlist. So let's get into the video. Oh yes, some Longer goodness. Longer have sent me a B1 frame kit because I already have modules, and as you know, Longer do support me, and they've sent me this kit and there's no contract, no money's changed hands. They just know, unlike other laser reviewers, I will make more than one video on this piece of kit, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. Now, I don't have to tell you that it's very well packed, as you can see. I think this is EDF foam. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I've only ever seen pictures of the B1. I know the pump is controlled by the control panel, and this is a 24 volt pump, so I will be doing some flow tests on that. I don't know what this gadget is here, but something to control the 24 volt pump. That looks very similar to the Longer 240 volt pump, but please don't plug it into high voltage. It is plugged directly into the frame. So, got some instructions. Declaration, I'd imagine that it is kosher, and an installation guide. So let's get all these parts out of the box and see exactly what we've got, and then we can see the best way to start assembling this new frame. Right, when you're unpacking, you do have two side rails. You take out the first one then the second one's actually quite hidden because they put packing foam between them. So just pop it out, and that's the other side rail. So this is what you get in the box. You get a front and back frame, 2 side rails, the gantry, power cord, air assist hose, some tools and some pieces of wood, packets of screws for assembly, not sure what that is, limit switches, the belts, USB cord, glasses, and because it's a 30-watt kit, 24 volt 8 amp power brick. Now they sent me the 30-watt module some months ago, and I have done a couple of videos on that, but I only used a 5 amp module because that's what I had that got delivered with the 20-watt module. I'm positive on that, so I will revisit my power tests on the 30-watt module with using this 8 amp, because I'm certain that when I was doing the tests you could hear the fan slowing down. Now I wouldn't expect the fan to slow down now it's got an 8 amp supply instead of 5 amp. And then you've got the 24 volt pump. So I'm going to do some investigations on that and see whether it needs adapting like I adapted my 240 volt one. Now let's have a look at what we've actually got. So it looks like these profiles are custom made, so it's not something off the shelf, and it looks like, unlike the Rave 5, you get a 4-wheel carriage for the X, and yes, definitely in there you can see 4 wheels. So you've got 4 wheels rather than 3. So you've got, unfortunately, you've got double the amount of eccentric nuts to adjust, but they're very easy to adjust. I've done a detailed video on that, and I can post the link on the screen and in the description, so I won't go into detail with those. Now, I have had this laser for a while. They delivered it before I went away, and now I'm back. But when I took it out the packet a month ago, as with all 3D printers or lasers that use these wheels, these 2 wheels were adjusted on the eccentric nuts. Now if you don't know what an eccentric nut is, don't worry, I will cover it later on in the video. They were adjusted quite hard, and what that made the wheels do is have flat spots. So before I went away, I unadjusted the eccentric nuts, so now this can move freely, and look, I can spin that. So when I adjust these now, I know they're not going to have flat spots. But other than that, yeah, I'm happy with this. This looks a much more solid piece of kit than the Rave 5. The Rave 5, the more introduction laser, is 2020 profile. So although the profiles aren't bigger, they are different shape and they are taller, so they should be stiffer. Anyway, let's start reading the manual and see whether we can start assembling this. Okay, having read the instructions, I'm not really sure what they're trying to tell me. Now, the left-hand frame is the one with all the cables on, so they're indicating in the manual this cutout here, and that's shown by the red rectangle just here. And this part here, I'm not really sure. After installing the profile, put the wire into the groove as shown in the figure. Then this one is pay attention to adjusting the nut. Now I assume they are talking about the eccentric nut to prevent the rollers from damage by the groove. Yeah, so they're talking about the eccentric nut. Now we'll get it all assembled first, and then we'll come back to checking the eccentric nuts. But one would assume that this profile is going to go this way, so the cable in the channel, the groove there, and the roller top side Now this should just slide in here, so that slides in nicely. So I'm going to put that about halfway, and then I'm going to do the other one, making sure that this roller is uppermost. And when you've got two hands available, it just slides in there very easy. Now these wheels, they do slip round, so that means, well, that one does and that one doesn't. You can see it pushes the profile, so they're going to need, these are the eccentric nuts, so they're going to need adjusting. That one's probably okay, and that one's not doing anything, so we'll come back and adjust them. Should you have a problem pushing the profile in between the two wheels, you are going to have to loosen off the eccentric nuts. Now the way you do that, they've probably provided you a spanner. So if you struggle getting the profiles in between the two wheels, you're going to have to adjust these eccentric nuts. Now I'll put an image on the screen exactly what they are, and when you adjust them, it's either going to move the wheel closer to the profile or turn it away. Now I do notice just in here, you might not see it on the camera, but there is a little dot there. Now this one is gripping at the moment. I'm just going to see which way I need to turn it to make it looser. Yeah, so I turn the nut, the nut so the dot went closer towards the profile, and that's made it looser. That's really loose now, and that's really loose. So I'm going to leave them loose because we're going to adjust them once it's all assembled. Let's go on to the next stage. Turn the frame over, and I've still got the wiring harness, as you can see, on the left hand side. So you've now got the stepper motor connection looking at you where the laser mounts. Now we're going to put the front on first, and you're going to have to be careful with this bunch of wires to make sure you don't trap it. And we've got no wires this side, so let's get the front on and see how easy that is. And it's telling you need packet number step number 2. You need them screws. So it doesn't quite tell you in the instructions that when you're pushing the side profiles into the front frame, that this bigger section doesn't disappear into this cover. This part here butts up to that, and if you look down this screw hole, you'll see the corresponding screw hole appear underneath that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to gently line that up again, and I can just see the screw hole down there. Going to get that more square, and I'm going to put a screw in. So what I've done, I've pushed the gantry further away, and I've taken out this side at the moment, and I'm just concentrating on the left hand side. Just make sure that you get the front and the profile square with one another, then gently wind that in by hand. You can just see it's slightly proud. And then in the front you need the shorter screws. So this is the longer screw, and in the front, yes, I can, if I look in that hole, I can see the screw thread waiting for the screw. So I'm just going to try and turn that one in by hand, and I'm only going to do these up loosely at the moment. I'm going to have to put the camera down because I'm actually right-handed. So what I had to do to get this screw in, I was holding the front frame here and my other fingers were on the side frame, and I just had to lift up the profile to get the screw holes to line. And now I'm just going to nip those up very loosely with the Allen key. So what I did, I nipped both screws up just a little bit, and then I unwound it one turn, and that will hopefully just give me an extra bit of movement this side to get this one in. Let's have a go at that one. So again, to get this screw in, all I had to do is lift up this profile slightly and take the bit of the weight off. You can just see I had to raise it up a little bit there to make sure the screw thread in the profile is square with the screw you're putting in. Now again, to get the front screw in, I'm going to have to lift up the profile, and you can hopefully see, well, you might be there, You can see the screw holes drop down. Now the screw holes popped up. Get that one in, do those up loosely. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pick the frame up and turn it around, but make sure you hold the gantry, otherwise the gantry could roll off the other end, and that's the last thing you want to happen. So on the back edge of the frame, you've got a communal or common crossbar with the one pulley here and one pulley there. So shortly we're going to have to thread some belts around there, and it looks like, because of that big screw there, these feet might be adjustable. Yes, they are. Look, how good's that? I like that. Let's take one out now and see. Oh, look, there's a stepper motor there. So the stepper motor's there. But hopefully you're working on a nice even bed and you won't have to adjust those much. So there's a stepper motor. So maybe this is what they were talking about. Let's have a look. That cable there, before we put that on now. Right, so going back to this instruction, maybe that's what they were trying to tell us here, to take that wire. Because I'm really unsure where this cable goes, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this side cover off. Now, to get the bolts off, they were particularly tight. So you use the flat end of the Allen key, and I put it in there, and then I just did this. I put pressure like this, backwards and forwards, and in the end it allowed the bolts to release because they were nipped up very, very tight. So let me get that off and see how, or see where this stepper motor cable goes, because it's unclear in the instructions. Right, so that's made it a lot easier. Okay, so going back to this step, it's clear what you have to do now, that this stepper cable has to go in this groove. That's what they're telling you. So let me slide that in there. So what I'm going to try and do is get the short front screw in, then I can flip the frame over and do the top screws. There you go, front screw just nipped in, about 4 threads to do up. Put the stepper motor cable in, let's flip the frame over. So I've turned the machine back upright. It's sitting on a flat piece of MDF. I've done all the front screws up first, and then I did the top screws up first. No need to do them up mega tight. You are putting steel screws into aluminium frames. They just have to be snug. They're not going to go anywhere. Okay. Looks like belts are next. So this is the only tricky bit, that now you've got to feed the belt in there and loop it to the right hand side of that gear. You can see there is a gap between the gear and the frame, and that's what they're trying to show you in this stage. And they do supply, I believe, plastic pliers, pinchers, to allow you to do that. So let's have a go at that. Okay, I've done the stepper motor side belt, and I did struggle with that, so I'm going to show you how I overcame that problem. But this one I had no problem with. I think the gap between the end of that silver gear and this casing is a fraction wider, because that belt just slipped through. On the other side, the belt teeth were being trapped by the gear. So this is what I did. I removed the end casing. So the nuts, the bolts are quite tight. So I put my Allen key in, and just very gently, look, I'm just lifting up and down, trying to crack the threads because they are quite tight, and I'm pushing in that direction as well. There you go, that one's done. Number 2. Again, pushing forwards and, in my case here, backwards. That's gone. So now I can use the round end to remove the nuts. So if you get really frustrated trying to get the belt around one side, especially the opposite side to what I'm doing now, the side that the stepper motor is, this is the way around it, because this is the only tricky part on this build, I think. other than that, it's been really simple. So with that off, obviously it exposes the whole cog, so you've got no problem getting the belt around. So let me just wire that up. So because I've sort of tensioned this side up already, making sure to do the lock nut up. That now they say in the instructions, push the gantry all the way to the back. Now I've disconnected the stepper wire and pushed it inside the housing at the moment to allow the gantry bracket here to touch this section here, because you need to do the same this side, because what you need to do is make sure that when you're putting this belt on that it is nice and tight and the teeth of the belt are engaged in the teeth of the gear. Now that looks good to me. I don't think I can pull that any tighter and go one tooth, because I've only got one tooth of resolution. Now if I went back one tooth, you would see, look, you can see it's come up. So it does sort of sit there nicely. You don't have to pull hard. So making sure that's correct there, then thread the belt into, well, you've already threaded it here underneath the gantry around the pulley. Now you need to get the other end back in here, and you'll probably find that you have to loosen this nut. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to back that off now, make it longer. Otherwise you'll never get the brass section of the belt in. So just make that a bit longer. Now making sure that that is tight. I'm going to have to put the camera down to do this. Making sure that this is now loose, you can see, because I can press that. So that's one tooth wrong. So if I just pull that in there, and that's engaged on the teeth, going to hold that there, going to wrap it around there, and then get the brass bit in there. Now making sure that you don't lose that one tooth of resolution. I'm going to keep holding that, and then I'm going to adjust that screw there. So I'm going to wind that screw back in, and that will make the belt tighter again. So as you get a little bit of tension on this belt, you can see this is too loose at the moment. You can let go of this because you've got the resolution on there. You can hear that pinging there, and this is too soft. So if I look at this side, that's a little bit too soft as well. So I'm going to have to do both sides to get that pretty much even. So once you've adjusted that screw and the belt is, you know, it's subjective in a way how tight these are, but I'm going to come up with some test or some measurement gauge to tell you what distance you should have, or I'm going to come up with something. So they need to be equal. I think they're pretty equal. The gantry is still here. The gantry is still there. All I've got to do now is do this lock nut up by holding the Allen head and then using the spanner to wind this nut up, come into my left to lock on the plate there. And I think it goes without saying that the teeth wrap around the cog, and the teeth of the belt then face one another all the way around, and the teeth wrap around the idler. So that's it. I'm just going to put this cover back on and see what the next stage is, but we're almost there. While we've got the machine upside down, it's time to adjust the eccentric nuts. Now I'll link a video, I'll show you a card now, and there'll be a link in the description that exactly what an eccentric nut is and how to adjust them properly. If you adjust them too tight, you'll generate a flat spot on your wheels. If you leave your laser overnight and these nuts here are adjusted too tight, what you're doing, you're squeezing the wheels down onto the V groove of the profile. And when the laser is at rest for a 12-hour period or 8 hours, it will generate a flat spot. Now the flat spots, you can make them disappear by adjusting the nuts correctly. Then slowly working the gantry backwards and forwards. Point to note, if you're new to lasering, yes, these are stepper motors, and at the moment it's not plugged in, so it's not going to work, obviously. But when you move the gantry backwards and forwards, this shaft will spin and this motor will generate voltage. And if the leads on the stepper motor are plugged in, that voltage is sent back into the control panel, and that's what you do not want to do at any cost, because you will fry your control panel. I think there was a warning sticker that I saw on the machine to say only move the gantry slowly when the wires are plugged in. Now the wires will always be plugged in because you're using the laser. At the moment they're not. You can see that one's not plugged in, that one's not plugged in, so I can move it as quick as I like. So the way I'm going to adjust the eccentric nuts is I like to do the slip test. So if you put your finger on the wheel and you try to move the wheel and the gantry wants to move, which it does on that one, that's too tight, because that's not, the wheel is not slipping on the profile whatsoever. This one, what's happening there, the black wheel, it's slipping on the profile, it's not slipping on my finger, so that one's too loose. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the spanner on there, and very slightly, you can see how much I'm going to move that much. If you missed it, yeah, I didn't move it much. Then I'm going to go back, and if you look very close, you can actually see the bearing turning. So I'm going to do a little bit more. Again, you're going to watch it. That much. Yeah, not a lot again. So I might be moving that the wrong way. So I'm going to go a bit bigger this time. Yeah, so I was going the wrong way because that's now really, really spinning. So I'm going to do it slowly. I'm going to come back down to me. Now I didn't know which way to do it because the eccentric nuts have two ways you can turn them. So that now, my finger is slipping on the wheel now, so I'm going to go back upwards a little touch. A little bit more up, so I'm taking the pressure off. That's just slipping. Now this one is not slipping, so this one needs to go up, doesn't it, to take it off? No. No, it wants to go down, sorry. You can see there, look, it's moving the gantry. It moves both sides because the gantries are joined now. So that's too loose now, because you can see the wheel, my finger is not slipping on the wheel is slipping on the profile. So I'm just going up a little bit. That's good. So that's just gripping, and that's, if you look here, it's just trying to pull the gantry. So that's that side done. I'm going to do the same for the other side. Now that is really easy to turn. So I need to go the other way. A little bit more, going up just a touch. That's good. That one's really loose. Really loose. Really loose. Tight there. So come back down. That's good. Now the same for the gantry here. That one's tight, so I don't know which way I'm turning, so I'm just going to turn it a little bit. That's probably made it looser. Yeah, so I'm going to come towards me now, just the fraction. That's good enough. I'm going to come towards me just a fraction. needs to go away. And this is an important stage. I know you're all eager to get it turned over and get the laser module on, but like anything, setup is crucial. Right, so that's fine. So now I'm going to turn the laser over. Now we've got no stepper motors plugged in at the moment, so I'm just going to test. Right, why is that getting stuck there? Probably because that's touching, yeah. So that doesn't come all the way forward because you're going to have a big diode laser there. So the reason it gets stuck is because it's hitting the adjusters here. So you can see, and having some noise and feeling a slight sort of notching motion is the way the stepper motors work. So don't worry about that. What you don't want to do is from rest, if you push the gantry one way or the other about 50 millimeters or 2 inches for my American friends, then if you feel like a bump, that means you've got flat spots on your wheels, because it takes about 50 mil of travel for the wheel to rotate and the flat spot, which is actually sitting on the V groove now, to rotate, and then you feed it again. So I've got no flat spots there. And I've got no flat spots there. Again, you can see how quickly I'm moving it, but once your laser is plugged in, you can only move it this fast. It's hard to move it slow with no laser on there. But you need to move it thinking to yourself, boy, this is slow, because that is enough. If you move it and you see inside the fan of the module a light come on, you're moving it too fast. You must go slower. That's all right when you're moving the laser, but when you're moving the gantry, you've got no way of seeing what you're doing. You've got no way of seeing the back voltage. And this isn't a moan at Longer. It's a thing with motors in general. So whether it's a laser, 3D printer, CNC machine, printer, whatever you want, if you move these too fast, they are little generators. Right, so I think I've waffled on a bit more. Let's see what's next. Limit switch is probably next. So not going to insult your intelligence. The laser, the limit switch, this one goes with the opened end downwards, and so does that one go downwards. Not that it makes much difference, but now you just make sure that when you're moving the carriage, if you listen, I'll move the camera closer, you can hear it clicking, and move the gantry here. And that's it, that's installed. So now we've got the wiring to do. Sorry, you've got this one down here, so you've got a black edge there and a black edge on the mark there. So you're just going to move that round gently, square it up and push it in, and it locks. And then I'm going to use 2 hands with this one, probably going to tuck that down, going to tuck mine down there out of the way, and then plug that in there. And that'll only go in one way because there's a key. You can see those 2 arrows. It's like a key, so it only fits in one way. If I bring this back up again, you can see the key goes in the opened end here. So I'm going to just do that. So then you just feed your wires around. Again, the little arrow marks, which you can just see here. One there and one there, they go uppermost, and I've already explained about that one. The arrows go to the open. This then is ready to plug into the laser, and I've got to do the limit switch at the back somewhere, or the stepper motor at the back now. So remember, I tucked this inside when we were squaring up the gantry, so just ease it out, and it only goes in one way. Let's have a look. So the arrows are going to go away from me, So the arrows should be on the back. Yeah, you can see the arrows, so that's just going to go around there. If you ever, oh, you didn't see that, and press it in. If you ever have to remove these, do not be tempted to pull by the wires. You will pull one of the wires out. What you need to do is get a nail under this side and under this side, and then wiggle it and then pull it out. Like, don't be tempted to pull the wires, otherwise you're going to be very disappointed. And that's, again, nothing to do with Longer. That's just wire management in general. Always pull from the plug, never pull on the wires. So looking on the bottom of the laser, we've got an antenna here, which is going to give you your Wi-Fi signal. In here, we've got the accelerometer, which will detect whether the laser has been bumped, angled, lifted while the laser is running. If it does, it will turn the laser off. And then this little fella down here is an infrared sensor, and this is a potentiometer there, which you can adjust the sensitivity of. And this is a fire alarm, so a fire sensor. So if it detects fire, it will stop your laser from working. So I think we're there. That seems good. That seems good. On off switch there. So not sure what's on the SD card yet. I'll nip upstairs and we'll look and see what's on there. But you can load your G-code files on here, then put it in there. Or no doubt this will have a wireless interface. If you put a file on the TFT card and put it in there, I'm not sure how you'll burn it unless you just use the Wi-Fi page, and then you can select the file and burn it. But we'll cover that in another video. This is the printer cable to go to your laptop if you're running Lightburn or Laser GRBL, and this is the power supply. Because you've got an on-off switch, you've got a switch that you need to have the key in to turn it on. What's that one for? That's probably, well, I don't know. Where's the book? And the most importantly, if you plug in and you've got no power, this is an emergency button. You can see if you twist it, it pops up. Did you see that? Now it's down. Twist it in the orientation of the arrows, so that's clockwise. It will pop up. See, it's down now. So that's now saying let power into the laser. So here we are. Here's the warning about moving the gantries quickly. If you do, you'll damage the motherboard. So please don't move it fast. So there we are. There's the module installed. Don't worry about this. This is an extra I've done for my 20 watts. I put it on the 30 watt. It just makes the fan a lot quieter and it improves cooling. And this is just an extension of the cable, because I've been using this module on my Ray 5, and this is my fine focus system that I've developed for the Ray 5, and I will try and adapt it to the B1. Now that I have a B1 frame, I can get on and try and do that. And I'm very happy to report that the Longer B1 frame has assembled perfectly square. So those of you that saw my Ray 5 video with the tin foil, we got no need for tin foil. We got a professional laser here, and it is perfectly square. Well done, Longer. Very happy to see that. When you're doing up the screws here, there's no need to do them up super tight. You've got two, and you should always use two, and it just grips the laser to allow it to stop falling. And then to focus, you've got a little kickstand, as it tells you in the book. Push it down, drop it down onto your workpiece, do the screws up, pop it back up, and that's it, job done. So in the next video, we will turn it on and get it running and cut something and do some tests. And that will be the first, well, the second of many videos. So this is just a build video. I hope it's helped you. I will turn it on and find out what this red light for. Maybe it's an alarm button. If it goes into alarm, it'll come on. But until I get it powered up, what I need to do is move my Ray 5 out of the way and install this. Anyway, that's Andy as ever. Wishing you a great afternoon. Continue to make some happy smoke. If you found the video of help, please drop a comment down below and I will answer them. And hopefully you'll join me in the next video. Cheers for now. Thank you for making it to the end of my videos, much appreciated. If you like what I'm doing and I've earned your trust and respect, perhaps you would consider subscribing. If you leave a comment, I will answer them as well. And if you give me a thumbs up, it will put a smile on my face. Perhaps you would like some of the videos popping up now. See you in the next one.